I'm Josh Deitch here at Moss Adams in our IT Risk Advisory and Compliance Group, and we'll be talking to you today about SOC 2 criteria.
Awesome. And my name is Priya Kumar. I'm a senior manager with Moss Adams in the IT Risk Advisory and Compliance Department as well. And so before we go ahead and get started, just as a quick disclaimer here, the material appearing in this presentation is for informational purposes only and should not be construed as advice of any kind, including without limitation, legal, accounting, or investment advice. This information is not intended to create, and receipt does not constitute a legal relationship, including but not limited to an accountant-client relationship. Although this information may have been prepared by professionals, it should not be used as a substitute for professional services. If legal, accounting, investment, or other professional services required, the services of a professional should be sought. So let's just go ahead and jump right in. And so on this first slide here, we'll talk a little bit about SOC 2. So SOC 2 examination is an independent examination of the internal controls of a service organization that help address the risks associated with an outsourced service. So many organizations depend on the integrity of their control environment to protect their business as well as their customers. So if you're utilizing a third party to provide some sort of service on your behalf, or you are the one providing the service, you'd want to make sure that there are certain safeguards in place to protect data. So a SOC 2 exam is one way to determine if those internal controls are in place and if they're operating effectively. So what the SOC 2 exam does is it provides some sort of confidence in the services that's being performed and the controls that are related to those services through a report by an independent CPA who assesses and provides an opinion on Fed control against the AICPA SOC 2 criteria. And on to the next slide here. So the SOC 2 criteria, and so stepping back for 1 second, SOC 2 really, right, is reporting, is a focus on how you secure data processing and storage. So it emphasizes the system reliability by measuring the effectiveness of those internal controls by relating it to these 5 trust service categories that we have listed here. So security, confidentiality, privacy, availability, and processing integrity. Most commonly, but of course not limited to, you'll see that companies that leverage this SOC 2 exam really has a bigger emphasis in the technology and healthcare space. For instance, if you have compliance requirements for HIPAA or HITRUST, those are 2 powerful drivers when it comes to the trust criteria within, security, the confidentiality, and the privacy of information. And then on to the next slide here a little bit, we'll talk a little bit more about the specifics and details of what these criteria really are.
And when looking at a SOC 2, each of these criteria have a number of different topics of categories that the AICPA has lined out in an effort to support and fulfill each of these criteria. So you'll see a large list here, and security being the minimum required criteria in order to get a SOC 2 report. The additional ones here are optional, and you'll see that they each fulfill a specific need with regard to confidentiality, privacy, processing, integrity, and availability. More specifically, with regards to the confidentiality and privacy, there is a unique stance here where confidentiality would be handling that company's data of more sensitive in nature and would be an example of like trade secrets or intellectual property or any type of data that may need to remain confidential. Whereas privacy, that's more considered when the data is personal information of data subjects, and the nature of that would want to remain private for those data subjects, and the objective there addresses requirements around collection, use, retention, disclosure, and disposal of personal information. And a lot of the categories here would be satisfying each of those. We'll move on here. So with regards to the high level for each of those criteria, so as mentioned, the security being the required minimum criteria, that would be more specific to like the physical or logical access, as well as incident handling, security monitoring, and network security. The confidentiality and privacy, as we mentioned, deals with companies that are handling that sensitive information, and some of that may be PHI or EPHI, and would be specific to that privacy criteria. And availability would be more along the lines of handling or monitoring availability of information and systems, and the backups and restoration testing, disaster recovery, or business continuity, as we've seen operating over the past a year and a half now with the pandemic. And process and integrity would be another one that's optional, and would be more along the lines of identifying complete, valid, accurate, and timely data and reports that would be handled by that service provider. And I hope you find that helpful with regards to a real high-level overview of the SOC 2 criteria. We'd love to answer any questions that you may have, and you can contact us using our email or phone on the screen here. Thank you.